One West, y'all. I'm Shy Excel, man. And let me tell you something. We different over here. We big steppers. Let's go.
Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa. Yo, what you say? No, we don't play you out your mind. Watch what you say, that type of shit could get you lined. And if you search, then let me tell you what you'll find. The city is mine. Just a mud who became the pick of the litter. Now my name ring bells when you talk heavy hitters. Nice nigga, but don't make me transform like Thriller. Sam Cooke a nigga beat like I was born by the river. Go get her, you piss her, you get off of the shitter. Can't put you in the spot like you niggas are with her. Keep an eye open around for any nigga that slither. Cause it ain't no sunshine here like Bill Withers, whoa. Fuck you know about this life I live. How you gon' talk to me like I ain't lose no rib? Like I ain't lose no crib, ain't lose no kid. Ain't sleep in my car and I ain't lose no gig. Shit, I never gave an order that I ain't did. And I ain't never take a fucking thing that I wouldn't give. Always kept it a bill, homie, I ain't fib. And if I had to go sit, then I just do my bid. Yo, my whole team full of steel beams we can't fold. Your whole circle full of some squares you can't roll. That's why we always take it to levels you can't go. Talk shit, but you can see me with these hands though. If looks to kill like Cyclops, these niggas wanna see me in Pine Box. Know that on my watch, got a better chance to rewind clocks when you quit nigga when time stops, bitch. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa.
His flow is award-winning. Torment him, bomb to death, I'm bored with him. Trash him, throw him away with the has-beens. Ice cold with the flow, I'm Alaskan. You was in the fucking jungle in the past tense. I be with the lions, they my friends, Carol Baskin. And like her, they'll never find a body. Tiger stripe tracksuit, feeling like Joe Exotic. Shit, I don't know what it is, but I know I got it. Feeling like Alonzo, surgical with the shotty. All you see is skull and bones, Illuminati. Probably, I be the illest nigga to do it. I just talk shit on the beat and they call it music. I just come provide you with heat, remain the coolest. You ain't never been in the street with all the shooters. I was sipping yak with rioters and looters. Gotta keep my boots laced, shoot straight. Run up on you with the deuce 8 in a screw face. It's bad out here, my style effortless. 2 hands hugging a Ruger, so affectionate. A lot of suckers don't want war, I'm respecting it. Biggest stepper, snatch your plate, the hood starving. Cause they got beard shoot trades like James Harden. Straight from NY to Philly, we still mobbing.
Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa. Go get a big stepper. Hard body, one West rapper. Put on for my king, my niggas, my niggas. Certified one West hitters, whoa. 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 Whoa.
Ooh, 27 Club.
All right, gang, let's really nail it this time. Here we go. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hillstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hillstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Florida Lee on my top, this a Saints hat. This the third can't be been in here, J-Cat. Nigga tryna steal the sauce, yeah, I hate that. But I ain't make the rules, I can't change that. New bottle, new wine, yeah, I can't crack. Look, flag on the play, they grabbing face masks. Niggas always saving hoes where your cape at. The only killer that you know without no face tag. Hell yeah, my bitch bad, Proverbs 31, yeah. This is not a drill, I be 30'd up, yeah. He about to crack the sky, you better hurry up. It's all bad when you see us hang that jersey up. It's mad brick, I got the blick with my cover on. He a fed, he a op, got his cover blown. Look, I'm really outside without no scully on. It's one West, bitch, I'm on with my brothers on. He got ranked, then he left, he broke another oath. I got the plate, we about to take another zone. They was sleeping on the team, now they comatose. Left his brother out to dry, I guess he wanna fall. Put the oil on his head, that's another soul. I try to tell him we a pro, don't do this shit at home. She unhappy, left her man, she a 304. He try to justify that shit, he broke the penal code. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Gotta watch these niggas, they be cointel. Lil' bro ain't never killed nobody, but I know he will. It's on me, yeah, where I go, yeah, that's the holy seal. My niggas itching when it's up, you better not touch a chair. Ooh, I'm with the extra, that's off the back. He ain't loyal to his brothers, how you follow that? She either working with her hands or she off her bag. Broke bitches, yeah, they done that, give me a heart attack. You see the banner but my head, I'm a part of that. These niggas cowards, pussies, we don't want no parts in that. They let our warrior out of prison, he ain't going back. And don't be speaking on the truth, cause we with all of that. Look, before they started dissing, they was fans first. You will never catch me digging in no man purse. Really put my brick in, that's why my hands hurt. And don't be speaking bullshit, that make my head hurt. Look, I done burn my fingers from the Michael Drake. For the brotherhood, I done threw my life away. I never see him, tell him come off from their hiding place. We can't do it, we told them we gon' find a way. They'd rather march 1,000 deep, we rather feed the people. They wouldn't put on all black, now he reading Hebrew. UPK the standard if you speak on Hebrew. Don't think they solid, get with them niggas just gon' leave you. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship. Been in this shit for some years, I ain't never left. Nigga try to save his life like he's scared of death. I got Hellstar on my body, bitch, I'm heaven sent. Hey, this UPK ain't nothing, we on fellowship.
Hold on 1 second, man. Let's take it down to Texas real quick, man. One West for you Universal. Let's talk to him.
When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The pride of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box of sin. When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The pride of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box of sin. In this nation, my skin is my sin, a menace to society. Laws made because they feel the greatness inside of it. Crackhead on the corner can sing like Ryan Osley, and we run from the cops like track meets the irony. Cause every nigga in the Olympics straight out the hood, and we get where we come from when it's all good. $1 million slave with survivor remorse, that's textbook. Looks divide and conquer, inspire others to work harder for minimum wage. To shine like you on center page. Welcome to the rat race. Now you will spin and look down on those can keep your pace. These young bulls is Lazarus, the man in the mirror looking you in the face. You reap what you sow, the fruit will grow from every tree, that's how you know. Friend from foe that set the triangle, pass the time like the rock and give and go. You either build or destroy, make your choice, bro. When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The pride of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box of sin. When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The pride of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box of sin. All these atrocities in my isosceles cause animosity when hope is a limited commodity. Rats in the race of opportunity with success rates. It's a low probability. I mean they build a prison before we even leave elementary. And Christianity got our people retarded spiritually. I mean seriously, you're gonna be in heaven with those that committed genocide on your ancestry. I'd rather be in hell with at least you know your enemy. Make it make sense to me. But you got native in your blood and celebrate Thanksgiving. Work you like a Hebrew slave and won't entertain a simple possibility that you is you. Simply, in reality, they call you anti-Semitic, the viscosity of a carbon copy, the shame, originality. The kingdom of heaven is within. We just saw the earth, the children of God. When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The product of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, a cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box is sin. When I roll around my city, all I see is our sin. The product of the environment we was raised in. You see, hell is conditioned, a cell made by men. The choices that we make, that box is sin. Yeah.
You've been wicked to the Most High's children, man. You've been destructive to the 12 tribes of Israel. Let me tell you something, black man. You got to put on your strength now, man. Put back on your strength and might, black man, because your day is coming. Your day is coming because the Lord is going to bring judgment on this earth. The Lord wants black men to be able to be men again. The Lord wants to stop the white man from killing our babies in the abortion clinics. The Lord wants us to get off the drugs and then raise our families back up to be the men and women of the Lord, man. But there's something in the middle of us right now. What is that? That Christian church, man. Get with me, brother. Joel, the 3rd chapter, 1st verse. Read it loud.
Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles.
Yeah, go ahead.
Prepare war.
Do what?
Prepare war.
You hear what the Lord said? Declare this among the Gentiles, man. Why? Because it don't look like they're going to war now. It look like they in control and in power of everything. But for the prophets of the Lord that know exactly what's going to happen in the earth, we know that it's time to prepare for war.
Hold on, y'all ain't ready yet, man. Here it come right now. Prepare yourself. Here comes the boom.
Here come the boom. Look who just stepped in the room. Got soldiers in every direction. As long as they steppin' in tune. I been all black with the groom. Watching Babylon fall to doom. Lord, know I'm ready, and I know that you know that her love is deadly, but I am immune. These niggas talking rude to whom? That's a spot, you'll be moving soon, and you'll be leaving shortly. Still walking with them angels, yeah, they still enforce me. Got a whole lot of zeal, I can't get it off me. Plus I'm winning like I got a blue ribbon on me. He ain't want what, bitch, I beg your pardon. See, I knew these niggas like to do that pillow talking, so that's why I bought a Glock to the slumber party. Got it off the dust. I just began to it pretty much. That brotherhood and weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. If it ain't one West, nigga, hush. I don't wanna hear it, keep the tone down. Had a couple complications, but it's on now. So you can kill in speculation, bitch, I'm thrown down. And if you want a conversation, set his zone down. What he say, I ain't hear him, I done zoned out. Can't walk, this a long mile. I'm 44, I'm on another level with it. These niggas never listen, so I let the devil get his ass. I try to tell him, I'm a rebel nigga. Better be careful if you ever think I'm stepping in my path. Cause it ain't no game. Stay in your lane, now I'm playing twisted metal with his ass. Got it off the top. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood and weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. Revenge to my main bitch, I think I got a crush. And she know that I got some sick shit inside me. But you know it's UPK versus everybody. Got the side, move the buttons like he Teddy Riley. Now my race through the track like a Ricky Bobby. Got it off the dust. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood and weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. Gotta keep it with me, it's a must. Got it off the dust. I just began to it pretty much. Your brotherhood and weapon, gotta keep it in the clutch. If it ain't one West, nigga, hush.
You heard what he said. If they want West, nigga, hush. Watch your goddamn mouth, man. We ain't the same. We not the same. We'll never be the same. We react different. We live different. And we're gonna keep on pushing this truth until your house shall return, sucker. And y'all niggas out there, y'all lukewarm.
Someone who's a Crip or a Blood or a drug addict in the street, they don't know anything about the Bible or God. They're cold. Then it's us. In the UPK, we are what? Hot. That's us.
Hot, hot. Hot, hot. Hot, hot. Hot, hot.
out of 1 West. Ooh, I'm too hot. My grandma keep on telling me I need to cool out. Quit to pull the scriptures out, pull the tool out. Cause we the home of the truth, my nigga, and you not hot, 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 hot. How many fake groups must get dissed before they really figure out who the Lord is with? I'm about to burn Babylon with these bars of spit. Niggas swearing they won't beef, well let's start some shit. I roll with warriors with swords and sticks, so keep stepping. Without a mind shit, this brotherhood is a weapon. This nation we protecting, heading for Armageddon. Told them niggas no sweat, but these other niggas is sweating. If you can't take the heat, nigga get out the kitchen. Ain't nothing these niggas saying you can find in the scriptures. They still in our breakdowns and trying to convert a gripper, trying to do the Lord's work, but he fell in love with a stripper. We can't afford to be playing around with the Lord. It's one God, faith, and baptism on one accord. If you ain't a hot nigga, you might as well hit the morgue. My niggas gon' stand firm while you niggas fall on your sword. Straight out of 1 West, ooh, I'm too hot. My grandma keep on telling me I need to cool out. Quit to pull the scriptures out, pull the tool out. Cause we the home of the truth, my nigga, and you not hot.
H-O-T-T, what that mean? Don't spell it out. Home of the priest, got the truth, that's without a doubt. Niggas getting winded, need to breathe, cause they chasing clout. What the priest is banging out so heavy, gonna break it down. We in your town, boots is on the ground all year round. When the summer, spring, and fall, we prophesying to the clouds, so cry loud. I stay your ass at home, cause life is all about war. Don't make me go blasting chrome, and it go to each his own. Nah, to each his own. We taking over the world, bringing the prophets home. And I dare any of you fake niggas to stand in my way. You niggas is gay, you wearing purple panties, you great. Wearing your fringes on socks on the block, talking to cops, trying to make an arrest. Think you on West? We ain't calling you out, that's why no affiliation. We don't fuck with you out, because we... And you know this, man, and if it ain't the UPK, then it's bogus, man.
We set a blaze to the street when we prophesy to the wind. Be amazed with deceit, false prophets feeding. Now can we set a fire to them lies and hope? They open their eyes, most niggas wouldn't see the truth, even if it's written on the blinds. They peeking out to see the real priests who change their lives. Commander General YAHANNA, the son that's out here to teach. You niggas done drop your swords, now you thieves like preachers. Looking for another way round and ain't got no discipline. Tainted worse than the warriors in Southeast Michigan. We aware that you been listening, visiting online. You ain't my bone or my bone, cause you ain't got no spine. You weak in the mind, your vision is so filled with your pride. And you can keep it cause ain't no cowards gonna hold that line. You out here led by individuals, practicing wicked rituals. And you ain't a hot boy cause you falling what these bitches do.
Straight out of 1 West, ooh, I'm too hot. My grandma keep on telling me I need to cool out. Quit to pull the scriptures out, pull the tool out. Cause we the home of the truth, my nigga, and you not hot, 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 hot. I ain't a hot boy, what do you call that? Hot, 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 and I ain't a hot boy, what do you call that?
Someone who's a Crip or blood or a drug addict in the street, they don't know anything about the Bible.
I don't want to set the world on fire, honey. I love you too much. I just want to start a great big flame down in your heart.
It's different.
You see, I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.
Fuck that shit. Burn this bitch down. Raise it, even to the ground. Nigga, fuck that shit. Just burn this bitch down. Raise it, even to the nigga, fuck that shit. Better burn this bitch down. Raise it, even to the ground. Nigga, fuck that shit. They better burn this bitch down. Raise it, even to the ground. This for Breonna Taylor. System failure. I mean the system failed us. They treat our lives careless. It made us careless. They think our youth stupid, but they really fearless. How you gon' police us when you really fast? I'm at the edge, my friends are dead.
Let's do a sound check. I was having a lot of reverberation just a little bit ago. Sound check, mic check, mic check. All right, that looks good. Let me get a 1W in the chat if everything's coming through clear enough. All right, shout out to Chupa Nathak, Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabakata. What else we got in here? All right, Rapid City in the building. Trooper Regal, Super Yah War, Young Man Keto, Sister Shanae. All right. That's see, that sound kind of sharp to me. Y'all let me know if it's okay on your end. I'm hearing an echo. Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. All right, that sounds better. I think we solved it. All right. All right. Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yah Shabbat to the brothers. Yahweh Shemar Latamba Shem Yah Shai to the sisters. We are the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969 on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commanding General YAHANNA. We are not affiliated with any other organization. Israel, pay your tithes, man. Pay your tithes. You can go to I.S.U.P.K.com right now, get that handled, contact the school near you if you're not quite sure how to proceed. Midwest Fire Weekend, July 31st. In Chicago, as you can see on our backdrop or the border of our video, get the contact information. Contact the Ramawan. It's going to be in on Roosevelt Road in Westchester, Illinois. That's going to be where the Chicago UPK school is. And I believe this is going up until like the 1st and the 2nd. It's going to be a whole thing, man. Get ready. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It's going to be a good time. If you've never been to the Fire Weekend events before, it's definitely something to check out. You got a lot of the bulk of the Midwest schools, combining forces at the chosen location. We had it in Detroit for like the past 2 years. So to have it back in Chicago, that'll at least be a break for us on the driving. And then we got September 11th, and never forget, we got the Feast of Trumpets. So I love how that kind of came together. With that being said, nosotros somos la Escuela Israelita de Conocimiento Práctico Universal. Comenzamos en 1 West Calle 125th Harlem, Nueva York, desde 1969. Si tú eres hombre hispano, negro o indio nativo, tú eres Israel, el pueblo elegido de Dios. Y con esto, mi gente, nuestro tiempo ha terminado. Yahweh, en el nombre de Yahweh Shai, los bendiga, hermanos. Yahweh, en el nombre de Yahweh Shai, cuide sobre ustedes, hermanas. Shalom, órale. Get this started. So, biblical law class. I.S.U.P.K Milwaukee, Tuesday biblical law class. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Feel free to engage in the chat. Should be the links for the StreamYard if anybody wanted to come up on stage. I don't have the Big O account like I don't want to come has. I'll have to see about borrowing that platform. You might even have it on the phone that's over here. I don't use it. I don't know how to tap into that. But certainly like, share, subscribe to content, and we will get this party started. So again, the main arguments, not so much amongst Israelites. We all pretty much agree on the same principles, that the context of law that's being used in the Bible, especially by Paul, because that's where a lot of the confusion comes into play, is in the sense of carrying out the judgment, the punishments, the executions associated with breaking certain commandments. Not that the law of thou shalt not do X, Y, and Z is of none effect, but with us being under grace in the new covenant under Yahushua, it's the punishments. It's that the executions, the exile from the nation, the being banished from the nation of Israel. There are certain things there are certain effects that would still remain, but brotherhood and charity are the main aspects kind of preached about from Yahushua, taught to the brothers, that we maintain to this day. Given the conditions that they were experiencing back then, also under oppression of a foreign power, and then having their own that were, sitting in the seat of Moses, holding that judgment over their heads too. But as Christ had checked them on, they omit the weightier matters of the law. So they'll make sure that, just like the Christian churches today too, they'll accept the tithes and all that. They'll make sure that you're paying. But you can effectively still be a sinner, an active sinner in accordance with the law, in offense to the Most High, but still be saved by the grace and the bloodshed of Yahushua. That's where we come into the doctrinal differences. Because according to the scriptures, the law is not done away with. Yahushua had taught the law all the way to his death. Again, we're probably going to overlap with a lot of scriptures too as we go. But again, unless there's any questions, comments, or concerns on the topic, if there's any questions, comments, or concerns off the topic, you can still ask. We'll address it towards the end of class. But if there's anything more specific to the topic of faith versus works and the aspect of the law, that would take priority. So shout out to everybody that's in watching on YouTube or other social media platforms. Again, any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to open up the floor. Let's see what this Twitch is. I don't step this way too often, but let's see what Twitch is talking about. Looks like the video is up and running. All right, anybody on Twitch, any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to ask away. Biblical law class, faith versus works. Faith versus works. Looks like we're getting an echo from that, so maybe I gotta shut that one down. That should be good. All right, so two of the main places that people run to when it comes to Paul's teachings. We're gonna do a lot in Romans. I'm almost thinking about starting just from Romans 1 and walking forward from there. And we'll pick up some of these kind of, I don't know, side missions in a sense, tackling some of the discrepancies or confusion, misunderstandings between some of the other verses and the letters that he was writing in different zones. There was when was this? Every once in a while, it's always good to recap with some of the older classes, on your off time. Like if I'm taking the bus or if I'm taking one of those Lime scooters around town or something like that, I'll throw on usually kind of an older video that I've probably seen before. That way, just to that way I'm not really missing too much information if there's background noise, traffic. No, mainly that's all we got in Milwaukee. I mean, it's nothing too crazy here, but the traffic gets pretty damn loud. Goddamn heat. Today it's like 100 degrees. That's enough to distract you. But Captain Tazariak, an older video, probably like maybe 2 years old by now. And dealing with this one cat on Paul teaching about making it lawful to eat whatever foods you want. And part of his argument was that, some of the verses, I think it was in Corinthians where it was talking about the shambles, either Galatians or Corinthians. Those are the two main places that people run to when they have a discrepancy with Paul. After he lays down what's been established in like Hebrews and Romans, Galatians and Corinthians are some of the other more problematic letters that people get tripped up on. But he tried making a point saying, he was telling we'll just say Galatians, for example, telling the Galatians you can eat whatever's sold in the market, whatever's in the shambles, right? And if he was writing that to the Galatians, if he was teaching this to one group of men in one portion of the land, he was teaching the same thing to everybody else. So now Captain Tazariak's response was, there's going to be some overlap in what he's teaching based off of what we're reading in the scriptures. You can see some topics being shared in different letters, but for the most part, it's kind of circumstantial based on what they're being faced with in their regions. So what's going on in Galatia, the brothers and sisters in Corinth might not be going through the same thing. So you're not going to have to address the same topics to both parties, but there is going to be the overlap in being taught the law. Everybody's going to know what clean and unclean foods are. Everybody's going to know thou shalt not, covet. One God, no idolatry. No graven images, honor thy father, like the traditional 10 commandments that we got from Moses, that Moses got from the Most High. Those are going to be, for sure, shared concepts and known concepts and talking points across the board, no matter where you are, if you're part of the school that was being constructed by Paul and the other apostles. So he doesn't have to say verbatim the same things to, the different zones. I'll start to take off the bondage, like the yoke of iron over there. You don't have to talk about the same things over and over if it's not an issue that you don't need to address in that zone, which again was the purpose of the letters. To send congratulations, good tidings, salutations, corrections, further lessons, and breakdowns. You know what I mean? It's the same thing that you see us doing here today. I can't even begin to imagine how many videos of classes we have in circulation from, I mean, just the short time that I've been in the school since about 2015, how many videos we've stacked up in just Milwaukee. There's a lot of material that you can review, and you're going to find a lot of overlap. But depending on some of the current events that we see in our cities or in our zones or across the board, national, international, some of the talking points might overlap because the scriptures, not just being manifold, apply to Freddie Gray, George Floyd, Sonia Massey, the brother that we just lost to, Salaki. I was just watching a video about him today. Nolan, I believe his name was. So I think I unplugged the computer here. Brother Nolan, who was on a little boating trip with a bunch of his Edomite buddies, and then, just comes up missing out of the blue. There's scriptures that apply to all these situations. The same scripture could apply to all these situations. There might be a couple, depending on the details of the circumstances, that might be more suitable, for certain instances. So what you see written to one school, one body out there, certainly, you can certainly be rest assured that the rest of the brothers have been taught the same basic principles of the law and of the culture, but not all areas need to be addressed to every zone because they're not all up to the same thing. What we got going on here in Milwaukee, even though we're doing a lot of the same things that Minnesota, Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Gary, we share commonalities, but every city, every camp is going to be a little bit different. Just the temperament of the people, the way that the city's established and built up, the economy, the crime rates, the poverty rates, the drug rates, the addiction and abuse, the homelessness. It's all going to be a little bit different. So, we have to take that into consideration when we're looking to go precept upon precept. Cherry picking can be a dangerous game if you don't know what the hell you're doing. That's why we train and we study in this school, and young men and troopers are not permitted to go out there teaching and trying to battle everybody. The zeal is going to be there, but we need seasoning, we need experience, and that's something that you're always going to have to kind of grow with. I don't think any brother would argue that they've learned all that they can about not just the Bible, but the culture and the faith. So getting to that topic. Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. This is one of the spearhead scriptures that a lot of Christians will use. Share this tab instead. So this is Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. That's an NIV. How did that happen? They got a new version of everything. That's kind of crazy. There it goes. All right, Galatians chapter 2, verse 16. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of Yahawashi Mashiach. even we have believed in Jesus Christ, Yahawashi Mashiach, that we might be justified by the faith of Christ and not by the works of the law. For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. So again, we find that concept of the works being of no benefit to you. We'll see something similar in this the battle about circumcision. Galatians chapter 5, verse 6. For in Yahawashi Mashiach neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So now some people would almost they'd have to stand on faith being demonstrated by love. If we're talking about, which I think is a great segue into providing biblical definitions of these concepts. So now, if you're going to demonstrate your faith in Jesus Christ by love, we got to look at what love is according to the Bible, according to God. So let's just slack. I think we'll let that echo go in the background. I don't think you guys can hear it. All right, so love according to God, 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. So if you're going to profess that you love the Most High and demonstrating your faith is made manifest through love, through your works of love, according to God, how you would show your love for the Most High is by keeping his commandments and not bitching and moaning about them either. Life is tough sometimes. And especially when you're, even though we're in the New Testament and we have our faith in our King and our God, our King, our God, the Most High Yahweh, our King, Yahawashi Mashiach, Jesus Christ, who are not, the same beings or entities. It gives us the strength and integrity to keep to the culture, to keep to this strict code, which really it's not so difficult to do. I talk about this all the time. We have the almost disadvantage in a sense of having already this lived experience of the novelty and sin that is allowed to proliferate throughout the world via Christendom and even Islam and all these other pseudo religions, which is really just going to be the imagination of our oppressors in their respective regions. If you're oppressed in Africa, you're subject to the laws of the land of Hamites. If you're oppressed, if you're an Israelite, I'm talking about. If you're an Israelite that's stuck in the Middle East, you're oppressed by Ishmaelites and Muslims. You are subject to the laws of the land of that dominant society, which is going to be the Muslims. Now, even if the whole Middle East, because I know there's a lot of Christian kind of nation. Well, maybe not entire nations, but populations over there too. But I don't believe that, like in the Middle East and in amongst the Ishmaelite people, I don't believe that there are any Christian ruling parties on like a government level. So it's still going to be whatever the, it's not going to mess that up. It's still going to be subject to whatever the laws of the land are of the governments. At least with them, it seems like they don't have a separation of church and state. Their religion, their culture is their governing body. I don't know how it all works over there, if that's not exactly entirely true. But from my understanding, when they're enacting Shia law, that's that's the Muslim government acting on Muslim Islamic principles. So even if they had like a democracy or republic that's supposed to live in America or westernized civilizations, you're still going to be under their interpretation of democracy or a republic or whatever kind of free-spirited alternative lifestyle they'd like to impose on people. But here in our world, on our side of the fence, I'm doing this wrong, man. But over here in the UPK and broadly across the Israelite community, this is our governing body. What we find established in English, we'd use the KJV. In Spanish, you got the Santa Biblia. Otherwise, we do read and teach in the Hebrew, in the Torah and Tanakh. But this Bible is our governing body, our code of conduct, our moral compass. So when we're looking for how to be righteous before the Most High, we need to defer to the biblical standard for it. And again, the argument is always, you don't have to keep his law. You just got to be a good person. You got to be a nice guy. Love your neighbor and all that, which we don't disagree with. But we would also have to have the conversation of who your neighbor is, again, in context of the Bible. Because even when the law was given to Moses, he wasn't living amongst all these different cultures. It was Israelites that came out of Egypt in the Exodus. That mixed multitude of people was just the civilian population of the Israelite families that came out, because you had your fighting men from age, I think they say like around 20 to 60 or something even. You had your fighting men of the 600,000, the 600,000 plus, because it wasn't like 600,000 on the dot. Aside from the men and women, and that mixed multitude would also include the younger, the children that were not quite fighting age, the elder men that were past their prime, past fighting age, people with infirmities, injuries, the women. And had there been, so we've got one example of an Egyptian child who was born to an Israelite woman. We have one example of that presence being amongst the Israelites in this time after the Exodus. And again, we see him acting a fool in our encampment and then being dealt with. You can't just take the narrative then that mixed multitude has to include all these Egyptians, because we didn't have and correct me if I'm wrong, at any point, there wasn't talk about his father being there. The son was, but the father was not mentioned as far as being in the encampment. So this could have been a product of, sister being violated. But as that motherly instinct goes, still wanting to include her child. As bratty as he might have been, as rough and heathen as he might have been, and contrary to our culture and law, I think that's just an apparent, just kind of maternal and even paternal, because we saw Abram's response with Ishmael being put out. That his heart, he prayed to the Most High to still, take care of Ishmael. Even though he was instructed to now just move forward with Sarah and Isaac, and his seed would be counted through Isaac. Which is going to be another aspect of law that we're going to get into. But we'll try not to bounce all over the place. But again, that maternal and even paternal, protective parental, kind of emotion to keep your kids close with you and protected and safe. You want them to be included. And every mother, every father wants their child to follow in their footsteps, essentially. Except for, addicts. There are some people out there who definitely know that they're in the wrong, that their lifestyle is not, that they wouldn't want this for their kids. But if you are, you're a God-fearing man and woman, you want your children to follow in the culture of your people. So that's how we keep our culture alive. That's how we keep the spirit of our people alive and well. So we hear we can read the one instance of that Egyptian boy being in our encampment, acting like a dummy, and then getting dealt with, and then that's it. It is our contention that the mixed multitude is strictly Israelites. There still would have been a class system applied to it. If there were ever any strangers like that, that would have gotten pushed off to the side. We don't really see strangers, again, unless you're under the protection of a house, of a family. There was never, and it wasn't just some open inclusion. So again, according to our culture, that's not the button I wanted to push. There we go. Under our culture, this is how we demonstrate it, especially if you're going to try to pair that up with Galatians. Galatians 5 and 6, I believe it would be. There we go. For in Yahushua neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. So unless anybody has a different argument on how you're demonstrating that love, what kind of work is gonna be a good demonstration of that love, we can only defer to what the love is considered by the Most High, which is keeping His commandments. And it's not that tough. Paying your tithes. Listen, you might think it's tough. You might be broke. I think we've all been there to some degree or another. You might be flat broke, or just feeling that you're flat broke. The anxiety of the next set of bills that you have to pay on, the debts that you're trying to pay off, rent, phone, utilities, camp fees, school fees, gas money for all these events. We got the Midwest Fire Weekend coming up. We come out of pocket for this. And some of us might not be able to go. I still got to check with the plantation to see about, days off. Just so that my money isn't, a PTO, so that I can still keep can still keep my ship afloat here, keeping to my portions of our financial obligations. And it's going to be tough sometimes. You're going to feel that strain, but you're going to demonstrate your faith and your love. You're going to demonstrate your faith that the Most High is going to protect you and keep you safe, not just physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially as well, by paying your tithes, paying your camp fees. Where let's get this one verse. And I don't like that their go-to is Bible Gateway. I don't prefer it. Or no. Yeah, that's the one I'd rather have. The King James, the KJV Bible Online. I like the format better. That's just kind of what we've been using here, so stick with it. But in demonstrating your faith to the Most High, for where Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. That's where you're going to put all your attention to. Wherever your heart is, that's where you're going to invest. That's what this is talking about. So if you're not willing to invest in your school, in your zone, in your brothers, in the events that we're putting on, in the small businesses that brothers and sisters create, you are by default demonstrating where your heart is. There were so many times, just giving a personal anecdote, there were so many times where I was stressed out about bills, about not having maybe worked enough hours to feel secure in covering all of our financial obligations. Anyway, knowing that, all right, this week until the next paycheck, it's either going to be tight or nothing. Like, I'm on peanut butter jelly sandwiches with the kids during lunch. You know what I mean? And I'll eat again tomorrow, and I can eat again tomorrow, and tap water instead of all this fancy bottled spring water that you get at the markets that's sold in the shambles. But still getting through it just fine. Not being asked, because it's like you try to hold on to that money to squeeze every advantage out of that dollar that you can get, but you end up holding on to it, and then you get asked, all right, we need money for this, we need money for speakers, we need to get new light bulbs, we need gas, we're gonna send these brothers to this event out of town because everybody else got to work, but they're available. They need some gas money, and you're sitting there holding on to these last couple bucks, thinking it's going to be the end of the world if you don't, if you loosen your grip on it, and that that's just going to add more anxiety too. Then it kind of works against you. Then it becomes counterproductive because you're holding out. And that you do have the ability to kick in. You're hiding your treasure. You're hiding your heart. You're keeping it to yourself. But when like, all right, yeah, we need gas money. When you've got the understanding, like it's it's not that big of a deal to help provide for the brothers who are going to be putting in the work when we got a slave. Remember, one year we only had I think there was enough brothers that were willing to go, that had the time off. My job was a little bit different, so I would have had those weekends available, but we didn't have the money to send everybody. It was to New York. There's these pictures that Captain Cottazai keeps on putting up of the brothers in the field. all standing in rank in the what we call rank, but if you're looking at it, in rows, brothers standing in rows, damn near as far back as the eye can see. We can only afford to send, I think it was like Cap and Officer Kanunyan. So the rest of us, I was one of the first. Well, I don't want to say all that, but we had come with the offer collectively. We had come with the offer of, listen, we can't afford everybody to get out to New York, but let's back you two with the money so that they can go there and represent our zone. That's not grievous. That's an honor to be able to make those sacrifices for each other. And it's important that we have brothers that are able to travel, able to do some of the footwork, and able to fund the missions. Everybody's got their gifts. Some people don't want to go out there and do all this heavy lifting, hours and hours on a plane or in a car or on a bus. But they've got the money to help push it. And so that everybody can be comfortable, and while they're out, they ain't got to sit there and sweat and worry about the nickels and dimes. That's the kind of love that we're talking about. That's the kind of intention behind where you're putting your heart, where you're investing your treasures in. The decorations for your schools. Everybody will understand and agree with, if we were to put it in terms of like clothes for your family. You want to make sure that your kids are well dressed, that they look clean and presentable when they're in public. Nobody's going to get mad at you for having, ambition of a career, of an education, skill sets, learning different trades or something like that, and putting money into programs, classes. But somehow, when it comes to the truth, not with Christianity either. They'll understand that if you say, "Well, you went broke because church needs a new roof, new pews, new lights, new stale crackers for communion, or whatever they're gonna have, task you to do." But people will understand a lot of those more socially acceptable excuses until it comes to the actual truth, which is going to be very confrontational for a lot of people. It's not, you might have family members that still send you birthday wishes and Christmas greetings, holiday, season, Feliz Navidades, knowing that you do not support, condone, let alone participate in those, that way of life. And it becomes a struggle for us to forego certain holidays that we know are BS, but that's the only time you get to see some of the family, you get the pressure from them. So now you feel like there's an obligation to go. You don't owe them nothing. The whole duty of man is to obey the Most High. And what is he asking us to do? That seems to be such an impossible task amongst, for these arguments, it's mainly the Christian communities. Like what's so impossible that he's asking of us that we just can't do? At the end of it, if you really analyze it, it's going to be you're denying yourself pleasures. You're denying yourself novelties, accommodations. Damn, what's the word? Damn, there's a better word for it too. Zaquan just said it. Not that brother had moved out. Lord be with him to a different zone. He's about to take over the Pacific Northwest. So shout out to Zaquan. But we're having a discussion about this, and he had the damn word. I hate it when that happens. But it essentially comes down to you're denying yourself certain pleasures. You wanna do certain things that would be condemned in the Bible: drugs, over excess of alcohol, strange women, adultery, whoredoms. Just sleeping with women and not committing to them, and just throwing them to the side. And you can do it in such a way that makes it look like it's their choice. They didn't want to abide your laws or be your wife, be tied down by you, but you knew that from the jump when you got with that sister that disdains the school or doesn't even know about the school. Maybe you never even told her about it. She don't know nothing about you. You just met her at the club. You get out of school and out of class, and you take off your shields and your wrist cuffs, your wristbands, your headpiece, and your shirts, and then you change up into a whole different outfit to go out and go meet something strange. But you knew this, about these women, that this wasn't going to be their speed. So now when you're trying to play it back, maybe some of them you do tell, what you're doing, because they're going to reject you and they're not going to stick around. But for that night, listen, they down to be your wife for that night. You're down to be their husband for that evening till the sun comes up, and then it's a whole different story. That is not our culture. That is not prohibited in it's just like that kind of behavior is prohibited in the Israelite culture. And that's expressed all throughout the Bible. And we can see into, where is this? How Yahawashi had spoke about this. Or Slakia, Paul, my fault. In Romans. So this is still going to be an expression of having to keep the law, because he's condemning this kind of behavior. And he's letting it be known how the Most High condemns it also. Would be condemning it because of his reaction to our disobedience here. This is in Romans 1. Share this tab. I still have a problem with this whole screen splitting thing sometimes. I'm gonna make it work though. All right, Romans chapter 1, which coincidentally enough, again, I wanted to start with Romans. So maybe let's just start at the top, since we're going to kind of read through to the point that I was about to bring out anyway. But so this is just, you can see, this is Romans chapter 1, verse 1. Paul, a servant of Yahawashi, called to be an apostle, separated unto the gospel of God. Verse 2, which he had promised afore by his prophets in the Holy Scriptures. So again, you're not going to see any heathens being talked about, hinted to, alluded to as prophets. In the Old Testament, in the Apocrypha, and the New Testament, that was a station in life and a gift and ability only given to Israelites to be prophets of the Most High. There's probably prophets of Donald Trump. I'm sure there's prophets of Kim Jong-un, if that's how you pronounce his name. There's gonna be prophets of celebrities. People that just cater to their needs. Who might be able to foretell trending topics and outcomes in their world, but they're not going to be prophets of the Most High. They're not going to give you any divinely inspired revelations from the Most High. that communication, that relationship is reserved for Israelites. Verse 3, concerning his son, Yahushua Mashiach, our Lord, which was made of the seed of David according to the flesh. This is kind of leaning into that separate topic that, again, is going to help define the existence of the law, the application of it, the utility of it. Because, again, the hierarchy of the kingly line, the procession of the kingly line from David to Yahushua wouldn't exist without the establishment of the law. Son to son to son to son, the firstborns inheriting this and that. And then, of course, the father can pick whatever son is going to be the, grand inheritor. Usually, traditionally, though, it goes to the firstborn. But again, Christ being made of the seed of David according to the flesh, helping to establish the difference in between Yahushua and the Most High, from being, the same entity, the same person, the same being. Different topic. We can discuss that another time. But verse 4, and declared to be the Son of God with power, according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection from the dead. A demonstration of the Most High's not just covenant with us, but favor and how would I say it? It all ties into the covenant and the promise, but that resurrection, that the concept, the philosophy of reincarnation is heavy all throughout the Bible. Being risen from the dead. There's gonna be a couple biblical instances of how this is gonna happen. And it's not just gonna be a physical thing. A lot of it is gonna be spiritual too, being born again, being made a new creature in Christ. Those are all spiritual resurrection, so to speak. But having that faith in our power to raise us up from the dead, the same way that Abraham had with Isaac, after he was instructed by the Most High to sacrifice his son. He had faith that the Most High would bring him back to life. Now, with Abraham's understanding too, though, was through birth. That not so much in that instant, after if you would have plunged the knife into Isaac's heart, for example, I don't know where he was aiming at, his sternum, his throat, his temple, whatever, but we'll just say his heart, his chest, that he would resurrect Isaac right then and there. But Abraham understood that through birth, I can see my son again. Because that's where he had gotten him, the first time around. That's, again, another concept that we can explore later on, too, the concept of resurrection or reincarnation in the Bible. The resurrection, our power, being able to demonstrate that, having that, because that's one key thing that so many people still to this day fight to try to achieve is immortality. That's not what Yahushua was after, or attempting to express that the Most High is going to make us these immortal beings that will never grow old or die out again. Our line was just going to continue. and in a healthy manner. We were going to live a healthier life than what we see out here in these streets and in these, urban environments where, life comes cheap. And, we lose each other, at the drop of a dime, the blink of an eye. You turn your back 1 second and everybody's gone. That in itself is difficult. You'll see whole generations, being wiped out that way, versus living through your children in that line. The relate or the commonalities that we'll see amongst infants. We got Coles here, Salakia. That we'll see amongst infants in comparison to older relatives that may have passed or are on their way out. But we'll see their mannerisms, their look. There might be a look to them, the way that they smile, the way that they laugh, the way that they eat their food is going to be highly reminiscent of someone who had passed. That spirit goes up to the Most High and then returns into another vessel. And that's how that's going to be the concept of reincarnation in the Bible. The resurrection that we're talking about here is a little bit different. So a funky electric lighter, man. Got this plasma flame to it. Pretty nifty. Let that bake for a little bit. Verse 5, by whom we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name. So again, despite the cultures that we are absorbed into, that we are oppressed by, that we are influenced by, still having that faith and obedience to the faith from among all these different nations. That's how we receive not just salvation, because again, he that endures until the end, the same shall be saved. So you can start off on a good foot and end up having a rough time with it and making some mistakes that that either you can't undo. Maybe you can't overlook it, or maybe it just won't overlook you, because you can still lose your life out here, even though we are under grace through Christ. The Most High judges. And it even says that, Yahweh holds the keys to hell and death. So he's making those calls too. Everybody thinking that the Most High and Christ are, like these all-loving, peaceable, like cartoon characters. Like, I don't know where they get the idea when they're reading the Bible, how they get to that conclusion. Most people will concede, though, that they'll try to make a differentiation between the God of the New Testament and the God of the Old Testament. They'll say, the God of the Old Testament, yeah, he was all about war and death and destruction and killing. The God of the New Testament was about that too. He still put people to death. But he had sent Christ with the mission to refresh the spirit of his people. That again, we're lost, we're downtrodden, we're scattered abroad, we're being oppressed by these foreign rulers. To the point where, again, they couldn't profess themselves to be a Jew, as we see in the Maccabees. And then that's what led up to the current ruling class in Jerusalem during the time of Christ. Having been the descendants of those same Edomites, that same Edomite empire that was established with what's his name? Alexander the Greek, or the Macedonian as they call it. Verse 6, among whom are ye also called, among whom are ye also the called of Yahawashi Mashiach. You know, it's not that we chose this life. This life chose us. The truth chose us. He who has an ear, let him hear. There's a lot of people who read the Bible who hear these classes, but it doesn't convict their spirit. So they fall to the wayside. But to those of us who have who had served in the past are the same spirits that are in service today. Now that's another topic. Well, and again, that would go back into the reincarnation, or the reincarnation topic that we can explore again later. Verse 7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And just grammatically, there's a difference there too, from peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. There's a separation there. I can see like English grammar is such a funny thing. I can see the argument for both cases on how the wording is there, but the punctuation, I forget what the grammatical term for that leading up to and the Lord Jesus Christ. Forget what the prose or something like that. It's I see a clear distinction between the two. Verse 8, first, I thank my God through Jesus Christ. And I think that's even, further kind of proof. I thank my God through Jesus Christ. Completely separate stations. A station that Christ has, distinct from the Most High. Because we're praying to the Most High through Christ. That's our pedigree. We're not going to pray to the Most High through Baal or through John the Baptist or through Judas Iscariot. We're praying to the Most High through Yahawashi, through that tutelage, through that pedigree. I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. So now, is it just them saying, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe? Or is there something that they're also demonstrating? Are they demonstrating their faith through their works of love? That's again being called out in Galatians. Pull this back up real quick. Galatians 5 and 6, for in Jesus Christ neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love. All right. First, I think, that was wrong. Yeah, for God is my witness. No, where was I just? Yeah, it was verse 8. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, that your faith is spoken of throughout the whole world. So, where we're seeing that correlation, again, the demonstration of this faith. We're getting more clarity of it being, and again, through, in Yahawashi, through Yahawashi, demonstrated through love. What's love according to God that we had read? 1 John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. That's the relationship in between these scriptures, the concept that's being shared. It's that river that flows through the Bible. This is the culture of Israel. Verse 9, for God is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you always in my prayers. Verse 10, making request, if by any means now at length I might have a prosperous journey by the will of God to come unto you. Verse 11, for I long to see you, that I may impart unto you some spiritual gift, to the end ye may be established. Verse 12, that is, that I may be comforted together with you by the mutual faith, both of you and me. Oh, slack, I didn't share it. We just read verse 12, verse 13. No, I would not have you ignorant, brethren, that oftentimes I proposed to come unto you, but was let hitherto, that I might have some fruit among you also, even as among other Gentiles. So again, the work that he was doing among the Gentiles and abroad, and that's just another way of saying, the work that I was doing abroad, the fruit that was being produced in these other foreign lands, amongst our people in the scattered regions. I am debtor both to the Greek, verse 14, I am debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise. Again, just different groups of people. Because he was traveling around visiting, all walks of life. Very similar to how Yahushua was amongst the sinners, the publicans and the sinners, ministering to the people that were sick, that needed the type of remedy and solution that only he could provide. Verse 15. So as much as in me is, I am ready to preach the gospel to you that are at Rome also. Sharing that zeal and imparting, his wisdom and experience to these brothers. Verse 16, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. We can add that whole philosophical and biblical discussion about who salvation is opened up to, because right here you'd almost think that would be all inclusive based on just that one portion of it. For it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth. There was a woman whose daughter was ill, who believed in the healing power of Yahushua, who begged at his feet while Yahushua and his disciples were walking through the city. People heard of their arrival and their presence. Everybody came out flooding the streets to see him, to get a glimpse, to get a touch of his healing powers, to get a blessing from him. And this woman that begged him, Yahushua ignored her. The disciples, they were telling him, dude, never mind her. Throw her away. Get her out of here. She just begged and Yahushua finally said, listen, man, I don't do this for anybody. It's not good for me to share this gift with these heathens that belong to the children. But he didn't use the word heathen, though, did he? He called her a dog. That's something else that a lot of people don't. Anytime we have that discussion, man, that's the part that always kills people. He called her a dog. I was being kind with heathen because that's still at least a human. That's still at least a person. But he had straight up called her a dog and was refusing her pleading and crying. He was refusing her flat out. And the disciples were trying to throw her away too. And it's not like he was checking the disciples for their outward behavior towards her. He was on the same thing. He was on the same time. He wasn't trying to listen to anything she was saying. He said, listen, man, this is not good to give the children's meat to the, I'm paraphrasing, to give the children's meat to the dogs. If it was all about this faith and this love, everyone who believes, it should have been, and again, where is it? No, it's not in the verse that I got pulled up, but people talk about this free gift. Yahushua should have just given her what she wanted when she had asked. She had demonstrated so much. What outsiders looking in are going to try to argue was, you can't say that it was the same faith that like the apostles and the disciples had. She understood that Yahushua could heal. She understood that. That's all she wanted, though, too, for her daughter, who was stricken with these unclean spirits. That's all she was asking for. She wasn't asking for salvation from the Most High, riches and wealth, to be a part of the covenant, the promises. She was just saying, "Listen, can you clean my daughter up? Can you heal her of these infirmities?" Incessantly, just being annoying about it. And finally, he had said, "Listen, well, let's get what he said too." This saying, because he was very, very clear with the reason why. It wasn't because all right, so it's like just pulling this verse up. Matthew chapter 15, verse 26. But he answered and said, "It is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to the dogs." Like, we got to open this whole part. Verse 27, and she said, "Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table." Verse 28, then Yahushua answered and said unto her, "O woman, great is thy faith." Now, you can't just take that word faith there and try to equate it to the same faith that's being discussed in Galatians, in Corinthians, in Romans. Her faith was in acknowledging that hierarchy, acknowledging that she is beneath the children, not as deserving as the children. We're begging for the crumbs that would fall from their table. But again, still knowing in his healing powers. Again, that's the whole reason why she was there. So he says, "O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee even as thou wilt." And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. So that's all that exchange was about. She had faith that Yahushua could heal her child. They were about to just ignore the life out of her. But again, she's a mother. She loved the kid. She really wanted this. So she kept at it. And he explained to her, "Listen, this isn't for you. I'm not here for you." He says it flat out. He says it flat out in verse 24, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. If faith is simply the faith that everybody wants to talk about to be saved by the Most High, salvation through Christ, it's like salvation through the Most High in Christ, or the salvation of the Most High through Christ might be the better way to put it. There shouldn't have been an issue. They shouldn't have, just looked to walk all over her, walk right by her. They should have just said, yeah, no problem. Let's, step right on up. But that's not how the event happened. He said, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And then she just came begging and begging for more, because again, she could see that door was closing. If she would have just stayed silent at that point, they would have just kept on walking. But again, she was begging and begging and begging, came and worshipped at his feet. Verse 25 said, then she came, then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. And then again, he was about to refuse her again. It's not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. He called her a dog, compared her to a dog to her face. If she wouldn't have continued worshiping him, begging for his help in verse 25, after he had dismissed her in verse 24, they would have kept moving. And she never would have seen her daughter healed. So her faith in knowing that he could heal, but that she was subordinate to the children, is why she got that pass, why she got that crumb. If all it takes is faith and you're supposed to be miraculously saved, if it's his free gift, let's take a look at that verse, this free gift. So I see we got Romans 5, but I feel like there's a different one that I'm looking for. Oh, shit, did it again. Salaki, give me 1 second here. 1 second. All right, so that's kind of getting to these would have been different, and there's gonna be a lot of overlap on this topic with some of the verses that we pull. But I think the closest we're gonna get right now, Romans chapter 5, verse 15. I think I'm gonna read both of them, but we'll start with this one. Romans chapter 5, verse 15. But not as the offense, so also is the free gift. For if through the offense of one many be dead, much more the grace of God and the gift by grace, which is by one man, Jesus Christ, hath abounded unto many. So again, it should have been this, if it was just this faith that we were supposed to have in Christ dying for our sins, which I don't, most people, Christians especially, they do not understand what that means, what that's about, his resurrection. It's, that's wrong. There we go, select it. I'm trying to move it forward. Hit the sync button. The whole concept of him dying for our sins is, skewed. It's indoctrination and dogma, wrapped up in the fairy tale that, Jesus is God and the Immaculate Conception and all that. Another topic to put a pin in for right now. But if it's supposed to be this free gift, the believing in Yahawashi, your faith in Yahawashi, that woman shouldn't have had to work so damn hard to not just get his attention, to get begging enough for him to even verbalize his dismissal of her. He should he's God. He should have just read her mind, healed the kid, and kept it moving. She would have been happy, and they wouldn't have had to be inconvenienced, on the road. But because God's salvation is not just this open-ended, trailer park party that everybody's invited to. All these heathens, all these foreigners, all these pagans, to still, because again, come as you are, right? That's what they say in the Christian church. Come as you are. Door's not open for everybody. Listen, man, the door's not even open for all of Israel like that. It could only in the sense of there's going to be a time when that door does shut. When the Most High sends Yahawashi back to take dominion over this world, this earth, this planet, it's going to be too late for the rest of the Israelites who didn't come into the fold. It's going to be too late for them to avoid the death and destruction that's going to happen. It's going to be a mess, and people are going to be, they're going to be left wondering and offended. What did they do to not deserve the kingdom? When they die and they are resurrected again, they're reincarnated through their bloodline. However many years down the line it might take for their spirit to come back. That'll be a different story. This kingdom will be for them. It'll be for the nation of Israel. It'll be for them in mind. But their station in life might now be different. They might not be born into that 144,000. It just might be a lower class. And not to say that there's necessarily anything wrong with that, because again, the kingdom will be ours to have authority, to have a better quality of life in. But you're not going to, until you earn it, until you work for it, you're just not going to have the accommodations or, station with the rank that we have that comes with responsibility. It's not just you get to eat first and you get to first in line for the bingo raffle, for the potluck dinner. It's there's a responsibility on your shoulders, a burden on your shoulders for the lives, the families that you are responsible for. It's something that I don't think people really consider when they start fanboying about the rank structure in the Israelite school UPK. Damn fly in here. I tell you, I blame Hamites. I blame Africa for flies. I blame the flies for the Hamites. I blame the Hamites for the flies. That might be a little circular reasoning, and I'm willing to admit that, but they both are annoying. So now I know I have this verse where, all right, we're coming up on time in a little bit here. Let me get Romans 6:23 real quick. For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Again, another separation between the Most High and Christ, but another topic. So Paul's still expressing here that the effects of sin, your transgression of the law, is death. Now, how do you get this gift? Is it just through faith and positive thinking, positive affirmations in the morning or something? Let's open up Romans 6 a little bit more. Because Paul's letters in Romans is so heavy. It covers very broad topics, and I think Romans is talking to the spirit of America, of Americans, because you got so many blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians out here that die for that red, white, and blue flag. Join the military, join the police forces, are war veterans who celebrated the 4th of July. While our ancestors were in captivity, they were celebrating the descendants of our oppressors. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Our ancestors were in captivity, but we were celebrating the freedom of our ancestors' oppressors with their descendants. And even though they want to say that, well, we were never enslaved, they were never there to declare their freedom from Britain. So, it's almost like, what the hell are you celebrating for? But because your ancestors put, some boots on the ground and, stood up against injustices, against people that they had declared as tyrants, and fought to the bloody end to achieve their freedom from those oppressors. We are that they didn't fight for. The people today, these guys out here today, these yuppies, they didn't fight for that same freedom. And I think we'd all almost be on the same page where, when we're talking about like things like modern, I guess more modern. Well, can't even say most modern stuff too much anymore because it's still predicated on their talking points from that revolutionary era with freedom of speech. You can get canceled super quick in America by exercising your freedom of speech. So let's not be naive on the tenets that these people were fighting for. At that time, they were fighting for their interests, their immediate interests that they felt, they could pass down to their children. And we were part of those interests because we were not in consideration in that Declaration of Independence. I believe, from what I understand, though, the original draft did have some mention of our treatment here, but because it was not supported by the rest of the the government, it was redacted. So now we're left with the existing copy as it is today, which does not give us really any mention at all. It'll use ambiguous terms like, all men were created equal. you'd think that all men literally meant all men. But while they wrote that and published that as the declaration of their independence, so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians were their captive slaves. They were treating other heathen nations like dirt too, and even white-on-white violence. But we were their captive slaves. The Asians don't care about 4th of July. You got Asian Americans that'll celebrate the stuff too. I think mainly just for the fireworks and food, either overtime or time and a half hours on at their jobs, or no school and no work. Well, shit, school should be out anyway by 4th of July, right? It's been a while since I've been in school. So we can see that there needs to be an understanding of the context of some of these words before you just apply it to everybody and their mama. All right, what fruit? Let's read. Start at verse 20. What is this? Romans 6:20. For when ye were the servants of sin, you were free from righteousness. You didn't have to worry about it then. I mean, your lifestyle was, your heart was storing up treasure for sin. You made sure that you had your drugs. Made sure that you were at the club for the loose women and for those uncommitted men. It's you made all the concessions to commit adultery at work. You had your work wife, you had your work husbands. Everybody sneaking off doing their own things. You were free from righteousness because your understanding was you had a different mindset. You had a different understanding about how to conduct yourself in this world. Prior to coming into the truth, the things that I was up to, and people still would have called me a relatively good guy, but I was stealing from people. I was messing with my friends' girls. Whether it was their current girlfriend or maybe they just broke up the night before or something like that. Drug dealing. But, the broader kind of consensus about me at that time even was still, trustworthy, dependable, likable, all that shit. So in the life that we were living, it was a life of sin. But people still, held a certain regard, and we see that out in the world today. But you were free from the righteousness of the Most High, that standard, that expectation. Verse 21: What fruit had ye then in those things whereof ye are now ashamed? For the end of those things is death. All the drug dealing, all the hustling, all the gambling, all the adultery. What do we profit from it now? We got brothers who were, major crime figures, major drug dealers back in the day, made a lot of money. Who are working 9-to-5 jobs now. That dirty money you can't take with you. That street credit, as much as that'll keep your, how would I say this? Because it's going to give your current reputation some validity based off of how they knew you back in the world. So they hear the upstanding reputation that you have here in the truth, in the school, amongst all these roughneck, militant, disciplined men. When they try to Like, I think I unplugged the camera. Let's see, the camera's unplugged. Okay. There we go. All right, we're back. It's like, you know, what the fruit that you have built up in that life, in that old world, it was only gonna, if you didn't get out at the time you did, you know, as history and that trending pattern usually shows us, leads to death. You don't have old drug dealers. You don't have old gangsters, you know, that are out there like actively gangbanging and shit like that. You know, maybe 1 in a million type scenarios, but it's usually a pretty short-lived life. But now, you know, we look back on that, and now we understand the shame, the lawlessness, the godlessness that we were living in before we came into the truth, and like how Paul had, you know, testified with even his own experience. You know, now knowing the law is how we knew what sin was. Verse 22, but now being made free from sin and becoming servants to God, ye have your fruit unto holiness, and the end everlasting life. You know, better quality life is kind of essentially how what that's going to translate into. Not just seeing our kids, and maybe even kids. Maybe that might be a little bit too long, but yeah, we would experience a longer lifespan where, you know, the average might be, you know, depending on what city you're in, average might be, you know, let's double check some stats real quick. Expected. All right, the national average, which is around 79 years old. Which is a nice old age, you know, nowadays. I hear all these stories about, you know, people. I think the most recent old as hell person was like 110, 111. But you used to have, you know, people were living in, you know, biblically, I think it said like around 130, 150. You know, who wouldn't want to add another, what was that, 60 years, 60 to 80 years onto their life? You know, still kicking it, still out there jamming. But that's the kind of everlasting life that we're talking about, where you get to live into a ripe old age. You get to see your kids growing old. You get to see their kids growing up. You get to see their kids, you know, being born and coming into the world, and you get to see generations down the line. You know what I'm saying? That's more the sentiment that we're talking about here. But you know, becoming servants to God, you have your fruit unto holiness. Again, that word holy just meaning separate. So now you have your fruit. That's the production of your work. That is the culmination of your efforts. And if your efforts are going to be demonstrated through love to prove your faith, your love is going to be demonstrated by keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of God. And in that's where you're putting your heart, because you're building your treasure up in keeping to the laws, and you're going to witness the fruit of that effort. And again, that holiness of being separate from everybody else, not celebrating Christmas. Do you know how much anxiety you get to shed off by not being worried about these pagan holidays? All this idolatry. How much more carefree you are without having that burden. The financial, the emotional, the mental turmoil of it all, we skating right by it, and we're better off for it. And then verse 23, for the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord. So if that gift of life at the Most High is promising everybody, you know, who calls, everybody who believes, it's through Christ. And Christians are proposing that, you know, the law is done away with and everybody's just supposed to be more Christ-like. Well, Christ kept the law. He kept the high holy days. He taught what the law was, impressed brothers to follow it, to abide by it, to not break the law, to not teach men to break the law. Otherwise, you're going to be the least in the kingdom. But if you were to teach men, if you were to do and teach men how to keep the law, you'd be great. The law is not done away with. Your faith in Yahawashi, to live how he lived, is in keeping the law. So, I mean, we're going to have further discussions about this faith versus works kind of paradigm. But we are over the time. So we will pick this up next Tuesday. Again, Midwest Fire Weekend, July 31st, Chicago, Illinois. You got the contact number for Ramawan on there. Any questions, comments, or concerns, again, reach out to the camp near you. You can go to I.S.U.P.K.com right now, find the contact information for whatever, you know, major city that you might be living in or by, to see about how to get in contact with the school near you, and the Lord allowed to establish your own if there's not a school in your city, to help build one out in your zone. You know, again, shout out to the troopers and the young man and the sister out in South Dakota. They're doing just that now. They're doing exactly what we're talking about. We're about to see them pretty soon too. So with that, listen, September 11th, Feast of Trumpets. Keep that in mind. Until then, shalom. Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai Barakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Latham B'Shem Yahushai to the sisters. Shalom.